Good morning and good afternoon to all of our MakersPlace X Whale viewers and our Whale members community. So good to see everybody here today. I am very honored to be joined by an absolutely epic artist, Osinachi, who is a 30-year-old artist based in Nigeria, and he's actually the first crypto artist out of Africa. So he's been in the NFT space for about 5 years now, just making works that mirror his personal experiences and, really crafting a unique visual language that has progressed him throughout the art space, and really been able to make waves. He was able to auction actually 5 unique NFTs in Europe last year and, do a 3-way collaboration with Christie's and 154 Art Fair. And also, I'm really excited to talk to him about the Africa Here program, which is an accelerator program for African-born digital artists pursuing their artistic careers, from the continent. So there's a lot going on, and I think we're in for a really special treat today with our guests. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Candy. It's really an honor to be here to talk about Africa here. I remember the early days in the NFT space when someone with the name of Whale Shark popped up in the scene and then brought attention to crypto art as we know it, right? Putting in the money, collecting artists' works, and really made what we were doing at the time look serious. Validated much of our work in the space, and I'm grateful to Well Shark, the founder of Well Community, and I'm so glad to see how much the community has grown and how big it's become and how serious things have really become. So I'm really honored to be here.
Absolutely. And we are honored to have you. Like, those were some really interesting and fun days, being pioneers in this space, because that's what we were, and having such an impact on the future of art, really.
Yeah.
And so that is a great place to be positioned. But maybe what we could do is talk about your start. How did you get into art, and how do you think your beginnings set you up to be, where you are today?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a journey that started over 15 years ago, right? By the way, I just turned 31 in
Oh,
October.
well, happy
Yeah,
birthday.
thank you. So it's a journey that started with literature. I used to read so much while in secondary school, right, which is our high school in these parts of the world. I would read to the class because I had a loud voice. Everyone could hear me in the class, and of course, I could read well. And that was how the love for reading started for me. And I started going out on my own, buying books. I used to hawk things around for my grandmother, but that didn't stop me from laying down my wares at some point to buy secondhand books from shops and take them home to read, and converting my mother's cabinet where she stored ceramics into a sort of personal library. As I was doing so much reading, I was having so many imaginations, and I tried my hands at writing. With writing, I started wanting to send the things I've written, poetry, short stories, to literary magazines. And within that same period, my dad introduced me to the internet, right? I took so much interest in the internet that almost every weekend, when I wasn't at school, I was at a cyber cafe just trying to explore the internet and trying to type out my manuscript on Microsoft Word to send out to literary magazines online. And from just the process of typing and exploring Microsoft Word, I discovered the drawing tools. And that is how it started for me. So as I was typing out these manuscripts, I wanted to give a sort of visual representation of what I was typing was about, right? And I wanted to mimic what I was seeing in the books I was reading because there'd be the text, and of course there are the pictures, and I wanted to put that. So I started playing around with the drawing tools, and over the years I've sort of perfected what I do using Microsoft Word. It's the journey so far. I entered the NFT space in early 2018, and yeah, rare um, from rareart.io, which was the first platform I joined. It no longer exists, to portion.io, to super rare, to MakersPlace, and all of these amazing NFT platforms. So glad to have so many people whom I call collectors in the space who love my work and appreciate my work and want to support my work and want to collect my work and show it to the world. But then before entering the NFT space, of course, I sort of searched for opportunities in the traditional art world, reaching out to galleries and the rest of them. But nobody really took a chance on my work because it's digital. So when you talk about provenance, when you talk about proof of scarcity and the rest of them, how do we actually prove that? So entering the NFT space, I felt it was the natural habitat for my work because it just gave me all the tools that I needed to validate my work. And here we are.
And that makes so much sense because, as you said, with having that provenance and that, scarcity, anything digital, we know can be easily replicated. But
Mm,
with blockchain like this, really is a great way to validate that, sure, it could be replicated, but it's not the official version.
yeah.
It's not the one that comes with this, proof of authenticity and with, this record that shows that, this is exactly what I say it is. And so
Mm,
for you, that seems like such a perfect fit, like being
yeah.
able to, kind of in that journey, like starting with, Microsoft Word. I'm curious to know a little bit more about that. How do you create art in Microsoft Word? Because, having lots of different tools, that we've learned about, this one, seems especially interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. When I started doing it, I didn't see it as anything special, really. It was when I told people that I did this on Microsoft Word that they were like, Microsoft Word? Because for me, I just started exploring the drawing tools, right? Microsoft Word, of course, naturally, is not meant to be used for art or to create these visual things, even as complex as my work is. But I sort of it's like where the craftsman sort of bends the tool to sort of serve them in what they do. And over the years, I've just been, and it's been getting better and better, right? I remember in the early days using Microsoft Word, I couldn't convert a Word document to to image, right? I had to sort of go online, search for convert Word to PDF, right? So I'd convert the source file, which is what I've created, to PDF, and then from PDF to image. But it's gotten so much better right now with the different iterations of Word that I can directly convert to PDF. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the ability to directly convert to image, maybe PNG or JPEG on Microsoft Word. So it's gotten better and better for me. The drawing tools are there if you explore it and have the patience, right? It has limited function, but I've sort of found a way to go around this limited function to sort of achieve what I want to achieve.
And I think that really speaks to your skill as an artist and the strength of your imagination, that you're able to not only, take the things that are in your head and convert them into images, but do it in a rather, non-traditional way. Because as you said, having the artist, bend the tools to his needs, and
Mm,
that, like, as maybe we should look at some of your art so we can start. Let's check out Maker's Place. So as an example. um, just so we can scroll through. Like we've got a lot of different art styles, and the details in these. Like you've got very recognizable, figures, and you've got textures that are absolutely like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
detail is
right here
amazing.
you see some of my early works here, right, which are close to abstract, right, and with so much color. If you can just scroll up, and over the years, what I've always wanted to do is to find a unique voice so that people can see my work and know that this is an Osinachi. And all of these early works, most of which are actually in Wellshark's collection, right? Most of them, they are sort of my own way as at then of trying to find my unique voice, trying different styles, trying different things until I just got to the style that I use now. And of course, my practice is also evolving because I believe that as an artist, you're never static in your practice. It has to evolve because that is how human beings are. That is how experience is, and if you're actually capturing these things in your work, then there should be a sort of evolution in your style.
Well, and I feel like it maybe would be impossible not to have the evolution, right? Because the more that you do
Mm,
something, just like practice, the more you do it, the better you get. So then,
exactly.
by the nature of getting better, like your output would change.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting. And you've even got animations in here.
Yeah. So animating on Microsoft Word, using Microsoft Word is tricky because you have to create layer after layer, right? If you have a subject or you have an object that has to move in the image, then you have to create that movement layer after layer, right? And putting all those layers together, moving them to GIMP, which is the software that I use to bring the layers together to create animation. It really takes time and it's tedious, but I enjoy the process, right? So animating using Microsoft Word is quite complex. So layer after layer, it's like how stop motion animators do their own animation. So you have to make a movement, take a snapshot of that, another movement, and putting them together, we have that progression.
Absolutely. And that is, I think there's a little bit of magic in that, honestly, because you have to plan if you're doing the stop motion or these layers, you have to plan like how you want each step to look. And
Yeah.
then, create the timing. Like that's something that you're not leaving up to chance. You're making very intentional choices. And,
Mm,
you know, I kind of like those more because you know that people, put the extra thought into it.
yeah.
Like, look at these ones. So we've got more animations and kind of the background changing. So maybe it's like time passing,
Mm,
or these are so good. I love it.
thank you.
Mhm. Love it, Nancy. And we had super rare as well. You have creations there, and there's a lot of creations on
Yeah.
super rare. Mhm. So are these, and it looks like, as it said in the intro and it's in the bio on Maker's Place, but you're creating art that really is kind of representing your own experiences. And so we've
Mm.
got a lot of people, and I think that looking through your collection, like humans and humanity is a really strong theme throughout your work.
Yeah, that is the beauty of the NFT space, in my opinion. That people, artists, bring their different experiences and show these different experiences through their work. Right? The NFT space is not just white, it's not just black, it's not just brown. And with all of these different colors, you can say that there are different experiences. And we want those experiences to sort of reflect in the space how people in their own culture, in their own country, for example, in their own continent, are using NFTs, how they are interpreting crypto, how all of these things are happening. And you bring all of these things together, and we have a really beautiful space that is diversified, and everyone can connect to each other's experience, each other's culture, and it just makes the space beautiful. That is why I always preach in the space about unique voices, because when you have a unique voice, and we just all come together with our unique voices. We have an orchestra, we have a choir, as opposed to everyone just having the same style. That is why we talk about Basquiat, we talk about Picasso, because all of these guys had their own unique style, and bringing them together, it makes art rich, beautiful.
And we've even got an homage to Basquiat here. So
Yeah,
how perfect the timing, and you've
yeah,
got with the ethos. And so these are, and you've got, here the animations as well, which are really like this tail. Like
yes,
they're fun because it's not the whole image, but it's just specific parts of the image, like a small
yeah, it's
detail that
subtle.
you're highlighting.
Yeah.
So these are so fun. And is there, I guess, when you're telling these stories, are there specific people that you're telling the stories about? Is it just a generalization? Are these people that you know?
But these are experiences I've had through life. Could be the experience that I've seen other people have while I'm going through life. But particularly, I want to say that I think almost everyone that I use as a subject in my work are inspired by friends and acquaintances, right? In my process, I get to bring these people to pose for me, and taking a still photograph of them, I use it as a reference image to create the work that I have, right? And for me, it's also a way of honoring friends and acquaintances, right? To sort of immortalize them on the blockchain. So that is my process really. And when I make my art, I'm only sort of bringing to life what I feel inside of me. And when the art is done, I can only hope that people who see the art can appreciate and sort of relate to what I've put out through my art.
And these definitely, like, there's so much to relate to these, like looking at, like you've really captured the essence of humanity. But now I guess that leads me to the next question is, since you are using friends and acquaintances as the models and you're bringing them in and creating art about them, are you also educating them about the blockchain and kind of recruiting them to this space as well?
Oh, well, everyone knows that I'm a crypto artist, right? And some of these guys, most of them are actually literary artists. They are writers, and I've been talking to them about exploring the possibility of NFTs, of the blockchain, and bringing it into what they are doing as writers or whatever they are doing in the arts. Because I believe it's not just visual arts or digital arts that has a place on the blockchain. Literature has a place on the blockchain. Fashion has a place on the blockchain, and so many other things, right? So different forms of expression of art, they have a place on the blockchain. We just have to sort of explore and find out how we can do this.
And that is a very good point, because I think over the years we've seen a little bit of poetry on ETH, and we've seen
Hmm.
a little bit
Yeah,
of writing, but we've kind of gone through phases, because first there were just icos and tokens, and then we kind of got the very earliest days were just NFTs and like art a little bit, and then art kind of took off, and then there were the PFPs for
yeah.
a bit, and then art is really and we've got more art, but we've got photography now too,
Yes,
so
yeah, there's
that's
photography
something.
now. Yeah, that's something. And I believe we're going to be seeing more of the others, like fashion, like music. I did a
Yes.
collaboration last year with a record producer here in Nigeria named Don Jazzy, and it was beautiful because for me, actually, the NFT space is more about collaboration than the idea of decentralization, right? Because I believe that it's a journey that if we all go together, then it's more beautiful, and that is collaboration, right? We can work with each other because of the tools that Web3 has given us. So collaboration for me is very important. And when I talk about collaboration also, then those in the traditional art world are involved, right? Because over the years, right now, since my practice has taken off in the space, I have collaborated with a number of galleries, I've collaborated with auction houses, right? And that is the beauty of it, that we find a way to sort of bring these people in for them to experience what we're doing and for them to also bring their own ideas into what we're doing to make it even more beautiful.
And how has that process gone, being a digital artist, but getting into galleries?
Yeah, at first, before I got into the NFT space, like I said before, no gallery wanted to work with me. I mean, I'd get replies to my email saying, "Yeah, your work is beautiful, but the but that follows." But then, over the years now, I've collaborated with galleries like first of all, I started working with Kate Vast Gallery, which has always been a believer in the digital art space. Just that they didn't know my work, right, until they found it on Super Rare, right. And from there, I've worked with other galleries in New York and in certain other places, sort of. And these collaborations are like their first time of showing NFTs, right? So they are looking for a way of introducing their collectors to NFTs. And believe me, that is important in the space. As much as we would say, "Oh, these guys are the gatekeepers. Let's just leave them out." I believe they have a role to play in the NFT space, right? They can at least educate their collectors, and these collectors have trusted them for years, collecting works of artists through them. And they can, of course, tell them about what is happening in the NFT space and bring them in because we need more voices, we need more players, even if in the form of collectors in the space, right? Also, collaborations like that led to a collaboration with Christie's and 154 Art Fair last year, which was beautiful. It was the first time that Christie's brought NFTs to Europe. And I had these 5 artworks to show in a series called Different Shades of Water. So beautiful, the still images. And being at that art fair where it was shown, it was an opportunity to meet people who didn't really understand what NFTs was about. Because when you talk about NFTs, they think, oh, CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, CryptoKitties, and the rest of them. So them coming to 154 Art Fair to see the artworks by traditional artists and then hear that there's a booth that has NFTs and coming to see these NFTs and meeting the artists, it was eye-opening for most of them. They were like, NFTs can be like this. These are NFTs. That's beautiful, right? And this is how we can show it on the screen because that is also the question. How do I show these NFTs? This is how we can show it on the screen. And the conversations that followed, that show was really heartwarming for me. It went beyond this medium of NFTs into the significance of having the black body in a swimming pool or beside a swimming pool or within the vicinity of a swimming pool and how it relates to racism over the years and how it relates to segregation and so on. So it was really beautiful.
Good. And that I think is really important because one of the biggest barriers to adoption for a lot of technologies is people have a hard time seeing the use cases and maybe it's not just restricted to technology but really any change like people if they can't see and understand it they tend to simply reject it. And
Mm,
so in this case, you're going somewhere, these galleries that is familiar and showing them how you can then extend it a little bit. So then it's not
yeah.
such a big ask because they're already somewhere familiar and they're understanding art and they're seeing this new art in the similar context.
Mm,
And those things are, hugely uh, inspirational for people because
yeah.
they don't have to make that big jump and go okay now I have to process what is an NFT and what can I do with it like I'm being shown in a
Exactly.
way that's familiar to me.
Yeah, and I remember one thing that happened at 154 Art Fair while we were showing the work. A woman walked in with her 2 daughters, and just instantly, one of the daughters put out her tablet and started drawing. I have that on my Instagram. Started drawing, trying to draw one of the works there, and it was really beautiful to see because this is a child who doesn't even maybe know that this is a medium called NFTs, right? But what they are seeing is actually art, this beautiful artwork, and they want to make something just as beautiful. It's someone that if you could scroll a little
Keep
more,
going.
Yeah, there, you just passed it.
What?
Just scroll up. Sorry, scroll down.
Either way.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Right there.
Yeah, there, beside Osinachi X Christie's X154, there you have it. And she was just trying to recreate these works with her sister there. And it just shows you the power of art. And then tomorrow, this little girl wants to be an artist, and she'd naturally be drawn to NFTs as a medium of for art. And it's just heartwarming. There she is with her sister, who is more of a photographer, while she is more of the art person.
That's amazing though to see that in action. Like you can
Yeah,
actually see the change that is happening in a person simply by viewing and experiencing art in this way that feels, more native to them.
yeah, exactly.
I would say I have that because I have kids who spend a lot of time on tablets as well, and that's kind of the interesting thing that they've seen is because I've been in NFTs, they're like, well, how can I make one, mom? And like that's
Hmm.
not something that I as a kid would have, it didn't exist. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
thought about it.
yeah,
But for a lot of children, now that they're seeing that, and by seeing digital pieces in galleries like what you're doing, like that's really reinforcing the possibilities for them because it's hard to be something
exactly.
if
It
you
just
can't see it.
it just shows you the significance of what we're doing in the space, what we're building, and who we're building for. And when I talk about we, I'm talking about the artists, I'm talking about the collectors, I'm talking about the marketplaces, I'm talking about everyone who is a player in the space. And it's just beautiful, the world we are creating. And people are going to people like this girl don't really need to go knocking on the door of a gallery to be let in. They can enter the space and do their own thing. Look at artists like Ferocious and how they've actually made something out of their art. It's just mind blowing.
It really is. And having those opportunities like that then gives you, if you can gain the momentum in the space, you can then
Mm.
carry that momentum forward
Yeah.
into, say these, physical spaces, which is amazing. And speaking of momentum, maybe now would be a good time to talk about the Africa Here program that you were working on. And I can pull up that page. Here it is. So you've created this program, which is an accelerator program for African-born digital artists. So kind of,
Mm.
extending, here inspiring, but also extending, these resources or the connections for people to create art and really empower them. Maybe you could
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, Africa Here is an accelerator program that has been in the works for months in collaboration with Makers Place through the amazing Caitlin Cruikshank, who is a member of staff at Makers Place. And right from the start, we've thought about the program as a way to spotlight African artists because over the years, if you've noticed, there's been some sort of too much noise in the space, right? There's a lot going on, and people hardly know where to find certain things that they are looking for. For example, there might be a collector looking for African art, and where are they going to find these African artists who are creating art in the NFT space? So Africa Here just sort of says, here are the African artists. You can see them. Here they are. And when the application opened, we had like over 70 entries, Nigerians, artists from Nigeria, Guinea, Eritrea, I think South Africa, and so just different parts of the continent. And we were to select just six winners, but the entries were so good that we thought about the possibility of having honorable mentions. These are the six winners here. We thought about the possibility of having honorable mentions because it's really important to give a voice to these artists who are creating amazing things from Africa. And it's also, like you mentioned, barriers to entry into the NFT space, right? It's difficult for artists to get on curated marketplaces. And this is one way we're trying to remedy that because these artists automatically have been onboarded on MakersPlace, right? So you can easily get on OpenSea because you just have to have a wallet and just do your thing, right? But for marketplaces like MakersPlace, you have to sort of apply and wait and all of that. So it was a way to bring African artists onto MakersPlace and to sort of shine a light on them, to get people to see what they're doing, to see them and to buy their work. Because when we talk about barriers to entry, it's difficult for most artists from this part of the world to actually buy the tools that they need. For example, if you want to buy your laptop, it's priced in US dollars. And then when you convert that to Nigerian naira, it's actually so much that not so many people can afford it. So this is a way of putting money into the pockets of these artists so that they can actually do the kind of art that they want. Because as an artist, from my experience, when you don't have the means to live through your art, you sort of do commissions and all of that. And commissions are like, hey, we want you to do it like this and do it like that. You're not making art or doing something that comes right from the bottom of your heart. So when you are able to make something from your work and you are sure of having your breakfast, you're sure of having your lunch, you're sure of having your dinner ready, and you can just sit in your studio or whatever space you work in and make the kind of art that you want to make. So that is what we're trying to do with Africa here, putting money into the pockets of these artists. And this has a ripple effect, actually, because through what they're doing, they'll get to inspire other artists from the continent. They'll get to sort of help out other artists in whatever capacity on the continent. And by doing that, we also sort of attract attention to what we're doing. Like I said before, diversity is very important for us to acknowledge in the NFT space. And this is us sort of paying homage to the idea of diversity by bringing African artists and spotlighting them and saying, here they are. Because people are always talking about Africa rising, Africa rising. Personally, I believe that Africa has risen. The only thing is that Africa has not really been seen in so many in so many fields. For example, in the US, there are so many Nigerians who are doing awesome things, but people hardly think about them as Africans, right? So it's important to say Africa here when you see someone doing something awesome who is from the continent.
That is such a good point, making sure that you're allowing people and enabling people to actually get their stories out there. Because as you said, like if you're doing commissions, sure, you're making art, but it's not your stories, it's somebody
Mm,
else's story. So
yeah,
having the agency to create your own art and tell your stories, and then make sure that people are recognizing that for what it is.
yeah.
That is huge.
For example, is a story of someone who wants you to make an artwork that would match the couch in their living room.
Yeah, that I don't think would be very inspirational. You might you can do it, but it won't tell a
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
These ones, like, look at this. They're so just you can feel the emotion here, like the
Mm,
closeness. So these are, as we're scrolling through, the winners of
yeah.
Africa here. And we can see like the very unique styles that each one has.
Yeah, it's beautiful because selecting these winners, I was looking out for style because style, like I said before, is important in this space. You have your style, another artist has their style, and we bring this together and it's beautiful. So looking at style and seeing the consistency of style, right? Each artist submitted three artworks, and if you're looking at those three artworks, there should be a sort of connection stylistically, right? And that is what I was looking out for. And almost all the artists that entered for Africa here, almost all of them had that distinct style. It's like they've been there waiting to be seen, right? Waiting to be seen. Some of them have been in the NFT space for a while. Some have never entered the NFT space before, and this is an opportunity to bring them into the space.
Okay, but they had, as you said, a unique style. So they had clearly been creating
Mm,
consistently enough
yeah,
to establish a style, because a style, I think, is something, and if your experience is different, please correct me, but it seems like it's something that you really need to continue to work on. You need to do that practice and that
yeah, it
evolution
is.
to
It is.
really kind of cultivate.
Yeah, I think that's why it's called an art practice, right? I prefer to use the word practice in what I do than career. Career is like, hey, I work at a bank and all of that. But when you talk about practice, it just it's almost like an everyday thing where you get up and do what you're doing and try to add value and try to take another step, in what you're doing. It's just it's a process. It's a process.
And that it definitely is. And I think it's amazing being able to promote other people's process. So we had honorable mentions as well, but having all of these pieces that then, as you said, like got these folks onto Maker's Place, because that's a hard thing to do to get your art onto a curated site. So this,
Yeah.
gets them, gives them a little kickstart where they've already been doing the work, but now they have the platform to further that.
Yes, that is our little announcement video where we sort of brought together some of the winners and announced them that they were the winners. It was a surprise. It was beautiful.
Should we watch that?
Sure, sure. Let's play.
Good. All right, let me share my screen again. I don't think I shared it with sound the first time, so we'll need the sound. Here we go.
So Africa here for me, it's a very dear project, right? That is why I've given it my all. For me, it's not just about giving African artists a platform in the NFT space, which is something that we need to focus on, right? Because there are so many artists from other parts of the world who are also gaining traction in the NFT space. But I feel that for our peculiarities as Africans, there's a need to give us our own platform, right? To get African artists to not just be on open platforms, but also on curated platforms like OpenSea. So why, like MakersPlace, sorry. So why we are expecting an influx of African collectors in the space, we have to say Africa here so that when these collectors come in, they know where to find Africa, right? And they know where to find African artists, they know where to find art by Africans. I wanted to jump on the call quickly and to share some news with you guys. And that news is that you are some of the winners of the accelerator program, right? And it's not just it's not just it's not just about being the winners. I mean, for everyone who applied, I mean, the artworks were incredible. Most of them were super. It was difficult to go through them and make the decision because while you are looking at the talent that is being displayed in these artworks, you are also sort of concerned about that sort of equity you want to create in terms of geographical location. Because if we are saying Africa here, it's not just Nigeria, it's not just Kenya, it's not just Ghana, right? So, for example, Chuma, you are based in Nairobi. So, whatever influence Africa here has on you will certainly spread to other artists in Kenya through you. Same goes for other artists who were chosen as winners. And for those who also applied, I'm so glad that everybody walks away with something, and that is automatic freement, on Maker's Place. And that means you can't really come into the NFT space and ask the question, where can I find African artists? And someone will not point that out to you on Maker's Place. So this is very important to me. Congratulations to everyone.
What a fun, like, that's like a really inspirational
So
pep talk.
Africa here for me, it's
Oh, we'll pause that so that way it doesn't go through it again. But you could hear the excitement of the people on the call too as you're explaining this to them, and really, as you pointed out, being able to have Africa here as a way for people to find it, because as I was listening, it's one of those things, like, I could be creating something, but how would without knowing this is here, like, I would think perhaps that I was alone, and then you've got
mm,
suddenly, I guess people could find it and then feel as if they belonged, a little bit more, like you could find home because you're not just the only one on a little island making things.
yeah, yeah. My academic background is library and information science, and for 4 years I worked full time as an academic librarian. And my favorite thing to do at the library is to catalog and index. And for me, that is a sort of pointer to where you can find what you're looking for. And that is what I had in mind with this accelerator program, a sort of pointer to where people can find African artists. And when you find artist A, you are surely going to see artist C or artist B
Yes.
who are also African. So this is sort of bringing everyone together.
Oh my goodness. And that's so good. And it's such an inspiration, I think, for other African artists who maybe aren't sure where to start, but then they see this and they're like, okay, well, like that's, clearly like a beacon where I could then, go and direct my art. And like
And
that
it,
is
it doesn't it
powerful.
doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Like I talked about collaboration before as one of the ethos of Web3 and something that is very dear to me. These artworks, the artworks by the winning artists will be shown at Art Miami, right? And that is a big platform, right? There's
Yes.
a booth there, and their artworks are going to be displayed, and people are going to come to the art fair, and they're going to see these artworks by these African artists. And that for me is also a way of validating what we're doing in the NFT space, right? We have validation being done by collectors like Whale Shark and the rest of them, but also there's validation that we need to come, from people who are outsiders to sort of really understand that NFTs is not just about CryptoPunks and Bored Apes and all of that. Although there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just we don't want to look at it in a narrow way, right? You have to sort of open your mind because the NFT space has a lot of things in it. You have CryptoPunks, you have crypto art also being made by these amazing artists. And yeah, it's a beautiful collaboration, and I'm looking forward to these artworks showing at in Miami. And I have my own artwork, which will of course, launch on November 10. The preview is on the website also for people who want to see. And putting my artwork, as part of this, as part of this is actually my way of also using what I've achieved in the NFT space to spotlight these other African artists. It's on the announcement page for Africa here, where the
Well,
artwork is called Laundry Day.
Africa here. Laundry day. There we
Yeah,
go.
that's it.
We
Yeah.
found it.
So
Thank
this is Laundry Day, and it just sort of captures my childhood. Not that I was going to laundromats as a child, but if you look down there, you see a packet of Omo, which is a detergent, and that very packet of Omo is not the current design that we have. This was the first ever design of the Omo packet, which was the I think for me as a child, the first detergent I was ever introduced to as a child and as a Nigerian. Because right now, even till today, we refer to other detergents that we have like so many detergents in Nigeria. We refer to them as Omo because Omo was like the first that we sort of got attached to, and this was the first design. This design was made even before I was born in '91. I think it had to be a long time ago. So this is a guy who has gone to the laundromat, and he's wearing nothing but his underwear. And for me, it's about renewal, right? It's about taking this dirty laundry and just going there to wash them so that you can wear them again and even have them smell better, right? And it's just about renewal, and that is something we need in our lives, as human beings. If you want to take a break, that's fine, take a break. If you want to quit some habits that you don't like, that's fine, go ahead and do it. So it is the renewal that goes on in life. That is what this very piece represents.
And I think that's so fun because you've captured not only the power of nostalgia, which is, I think, what you've
Mm,
got with, the Omo, but also, that hopeful renewal that, you can take the nostalgia and hold on to that while
yeah,
still looking forward and, starting fresh.
yeah.
That, like, oh my goodness, that's such a good story and such a fun. piece of art. Like seeing like the motion too. We can see like the washers spinning and the
Yeah.
little buttons, and like the nuance in this is absolutely amazing. So
And that underwear is actually a brand that exists
it does,
with
and
the name you have there. I
okay,
don't know how they pronounce that, Munafie or Munafai. I don't know, but it actually exists as a
it does
brand.
exist.
Yeah.
How fun. And we have a lot of comments about there's FOMO for your work here. They like this piece in the chat. So
Mm. Okay.
love that. Um, actually, I was gonna ask because I know we're getting, closer to the end of our conversation. So I was gonna ask if there's anything I forgot to ask you. But first, before that, I forgot that we have a POAP to give away.
Oh.
Yes. So for those who are interested, and if you also, Osinachi, are collecting POAPs, I would do this now because we have 15 minutes before it runs out.
Mm.
But the code for the POAP is actually Africa here, all
Oh.
lowercase, one word, in honor of, this amazing project that you've been, leading. So for anybody collecting POAPs, Africa here is our code. And sorry for the interruption. Like I said, I lost track of time
Y-
because this has been such a
Yeah,
fun conversation.
it is. You can have the conversation all day long.
So good. So let's see, we've got people in the chat saying they've got the POAPs, so they're good.
Awesome.
And good. So that's been successful. For the last couple of minutes here, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you are just like itching to tell the community? There's,
Well, I'm urging the community to go on osinachiafricahere.com and see these amazing artworks, right? And bid, and buy the artworks that speak to you. It's not just the artworks of the winners that you're going to see. You're going to see the artworks of over 60 other entrants, right? Who submitted applications for Africa here. And you can just buy and appreciate the work that these guys are doing. And as you're doing that, you are supporting African artists, and it has a ripple effect, like I mentioned before, for other artists, not just in Africa, but across the world.
awesome. And so that is actually, I think, the website that we're on, right? It looks like we can click through to each
Yeah.
of the
So you click on
artists.
each artwork, and it takes you directly to where you can place a bid or buy.
So here we are.
That's it.
So
Yeah,
there's the
actually,
first example.
yeah, I think okay. Chuman Abado, who is the artist, he has sold one other piece, that he also submitted for the accelerator program.
Amazing. And so we have so many awesome options. And this actually has very art Vitar vibes. I don't know if you were familiar with that
Yeah,
project, but that
that very piece by Kel Savage really speaks to the current situation we are in as Nigerians, right? We have our economy is in shambles. I know it's the same across the world, but Nigeria has it worse because of bad leadership and the rest of them. And so you have so many young people who are leaving the country, and the idea of poverty is represented by the expression sapa. That is how we say it when you are broke,
mm,
sapa. And you see this person saying sapa won't kill me. That is poverty wants to kill me, or being broke wants to kill me. So there are newspaper clippings from newspapers that sort of carry the news about what is happening in present day Nigeria. And that is why this piece is actually very special.
that is such a strong piece. Like just visually, it's something that the colors really, kind of reach out from the
Yeah,
screen and like capture you and then draw you in. And even though you have that brightness, the story here, the text brings that
yeah,
darkness. So it's, maybe not everything is as it seems.
exactly.
Wow, these are so good. Then we've got the next row
Then we've
as
got the
well.
photographer.
This one.
Yeah, it is a photograph, really.
Oh my goodness. And it's like the composition of it though, like
The
it's
composition is just
amazing.
super. Is beautiful, and I felt it was important to bring this work have this artist become one of the winners, because so many people would ask you, how am I supposed to put photography, bring photography into the NFT space? So this is a very big, a very good example of how you can do that. And this guy really takes his time and creates this beautiful composition. And for me also, this very work is like, it's like a tribute to womanhood, right? Because that is something that's also close to my heart. It's just incredible.
And that was something that I actually saw in some of your other works, I think maybe on Super
Yeah,
Rare when I was scrolling through. There were a lot of references to womanhood and having the strength of women. And we've got, oh my gosh, and this whole row has a lot of, I think,
yeah,
feminine vibes.
yeah,
How amazing. And if we scroll down, there's also the honorable mentions, which are
yeah,
really nice that, and on that first page we looked at, they were listed, but here you can actually see them. And
yes.
so, like, the sheer talent that people have
So there's
submitted here is overwhelming.
Yeah, there's this piece by Obinauti, Mecca SPDR.
Yeah,
And someone would ask, why do you have design as part of the whole thing? For me, design is also important, especially when it's coming from an African. For example, this could be a robot somewhere in Mars or somewhere on the moon trying to explore something as sent by an African country, right? That is important. That is an important conversation to have, right? So if we are going to go to space as Africans, then we need designs like this. And this artist really captures, this looks like a spider, but and the terrain actually looks like it's not unearthly. So it makes me think about exploring what we have on the moon, exploring what we have in other planets.
it definitely looks like it's unlocking a lot of exploratory potential.
Yeah.
And it goes well actually with this astronaut here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it goes back to the conversation we had, about how you need to be able to see, you need those examples, you need to be able to see, you know, people like you doing the thing in order to feel like you can also do it. Because without
Yeah,
having those role models and those examples, it's really hard to envision yourself in that scenario.
yeah.
These are so good. Oh my goodness. And then all of the participants as well. So everybody got featured. And this is what you were mentioning that, even by participating, they were able to get access to Mint.
Yeah, to mint their work on MakersPlace and have people bid on their work and possibly buy their work. And it's not just going to be their first and only mint on MakersPlace. They can go ahead and put more of their work there. For most of them, it's probably the first time they're getting on a curated platform. Most of them have been trying to get their voices heard on OpenSea or other open platforms. But right here is something special, a special platform that they can explore and use for their work.
And there's a mermaid.
Yes.
I know the focus is the shoulders, but I love mermaids, so this one really caught my eye when I was looking at them.
Yeah.
These are great, and I like that you have the timeline as well, and being able to,
Mm,
talk about, even though this timeline, for example, it goes from September to December as you do the submission window. You did,
yeah.
kind of that juried selection, and then they're going to Miami, which is amazing,
Mm,
sending these art pieces, to an event where people kind of, more widely can see the art and the
yeah.
talent. But there was, I would assume, a lot of work that went in before phase one to even get to this point.
A lot of work, and kudos to the Makers Place team, right? They really put their back into these, and to see it come get to this stage. Actually, I'm so proud of the team.
Awesome. And definitely kudos to you as well for, helping with Maker's Place and getting this where it is, because this is huge. Like,
It is.
I'm really speechless at how amazing this is that you've, created this and created this beacon for artists and collectors alike to be able to find, African art.
Yeah.
So, how inspirational. I think that's the best way to describe it. And be able to get this talent, visibility out in the world, because obviously the talent is already out there. It's just getting the
Yeah.
visibility.
that is it. It's just getting like people talk about women involvement in things like maybe government and administration and the rest of them. And some guys would be like, we're looking for the women. Where are the women? And it's funny because when you say that, it's like, are the women ghosts that you can't see them? Because they are there, right? So African artists are actually there. So this is one way of helping collectors and whoever, actually maybe a researcher who wants to research African artists in the NFT space, to sort of see what is happening, to sort of see what African artists are doing, right? So that spotlighting is very important, right? So give them a platform to tell their story, give them a platform to showcase their style, give them a platform to say, this is where we are, this is us, this is our art, look at our art, look at how beautiful it is, look at the color, look at the themes that we explore, look at the experiences that I've had as an African that I'm bringing into my art. Is this something you can relate to? uh, like let us talk about this art that is coming out of Africa. That is also something that I like to talk about, which is the idea of talking about the art in the NFT space, because mostly you hear people talk about how much this piece was sold for 100K or 50K and all of that. But what about the art? What is the art about? It's not just about the money that's been spent buying that art. But what is the art? Did the art speak to the collector? Does the art speak to you as someone who has seen the art? So this is curation at its best, in my opinion, right? And that curation is very important in the space. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of things going on. So we need to direct people who are actually looking for particular things on the way to go, where to find these things to make the work easy for them.
And that, I think, is really maybe the potential of the blockchain space as a whole, and
Yeah,
something that, while we haven't fully recognized or achieved that yet, having people who are every day working toward promoting those types of values, those types of opportunities, like that's the change that we need, for the world as a whole. And
yeah, and it's coming one step at a time, one step at a time.
yes,
Everyone has their own role to play. So whatever you can do, you do it so that we get closer and closer to the promised land.
perfect. And I think that maybe is a really good point to end on for today. I know we're getting close to the end, and I don't want to hold you, over. But I really appreciate you sharing your journey and, this amazing conversation with the community today, because this art is so important, and having the voices heard is super
Mm.
important, and being able to promote that is something that I'm really excited that is happening in the space. So thank you so
Yeah.
much,
So
Osinachi, for joining today.
thank you for the honors. Thank you for the platform. It's really great having this conversation. And well, I mean, I've always admired Wellshark as a collector, right? Highly opinionated, yes, but of course, still has his huge contributions to the space. And if we're writing the history of the NFT space, there's no way we are going to exclude Wellshark as a collector in the space. And that to me it speaks to his person, to how big of a person he is in the NFT space. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. And a huge thank you to MakersPlace as well for helping to coordinate this amazing interview, and to our community for showing up as they always do. It has been an honor to have you here and to learn more about not only your art, but the art of these other artists as well. So, with that, we will say goodbye for the day, and thank you everybody for joining.